what am I supposed to think as a black person sitting in this country right now? Does he think I am a monkey? Does his supporters think I'm a monkey? It's like, there is something about the deleting, but it is like, are we comfortable with a person that thinks like that would even do that to be in an office in the White House?
MAGA is absolutely melting down right now over Donald Trump's latest post on Truth Social. It's one of those moments where the base doesn't quite know which way to pivot, and the resulting chaos is, well, it's fascinating to watch. We're going to break down a recent panel discussion on Abby Phillip's show that really captures the friction. You've got Ashley Allison laying out the reality of the situation, while Joe Pinion and the rest of the panel try to make sense of the latest 2026 shifts. I've been tracking this all morning, and I've got some specific thoughts on why this particular post is hitting differently than the ones we saw last year. I want to walk through the footage with you and really unpack what's happening behind the scenes of this narrative. But before we hit play, do me a huge favor. We have a major goal to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month, and every single one of you makes a difference. If you appreciate independent analysis that doesn't just follow the script, hit that subscribe button right now. Also, drop a comment. Did Trump's post catch you off guard, or is this just business as usual? Let's dive in.
Is one of the most shocking posts that Donald Trump has ever shared also one of the least surprising? In a late-night posting storm, which has become more and more common, the President of the United States shared a racist video depicting Barack and Michelle Obama as apes. The outrage came quickly, even from many Republicans who called it vile and disgusting. But in their first response, the White House defended it as just an internet joke and accused everyone of fake outrage. Then, a few hours later, amid all of the backlash, they blamed a staffer and removed the post. So what is perplexing about all of this is how shocked Republicans claim to be by this. Trump has a long history of racist posts, comments, and actions, and yet they were all dismissed or ignored by those same people. And it's done nothing to change the level of support instead that he receives from these very Republicans. Tim Scott said, "This is the most racist post I've ever seen come out of this administration." And as someone pointed out on social media, what was the second most racist post he'd ever seen come out of this administration? Since when is that the bar?
Yeah. I mean, you know, when I saw this today, like, it's the dual feelings that you identify, both shocked and not shocked at all, because this is someone who, this is not only a racist post, but a president who is engaged in racist policies, who has encouraged racist rhetoric from his supporters, who came to office on behind a racist conspiracy about Barack Obama. So this is all within his kind of political history. I guess I would also say that when you think about the Tim Scotts or some of the black conservatives, I know Byron Donalds was on the phone with the White House today. I have it feels to me as if I've never seen someone sign up or give up some of their values for Donald Trump and they don't get embarrassed in the end, And so I think it's inevitable when you kind of cede some of yourself and your values to him. He ensures embarrassment.
And that's actually part of the political strategy.
And I think that how much folks will take is a question he will always get to.
And where's the staffer, by the way, who did this? Has this person been frog marched out of the White House yet? Or did a staffer actually do this? I mean, these are the kinds of, there should be accountability.
Dare I say, Charlie, no one believes that a staffer did
I know.
this, okay? It's 10, 11 p.m. at night. The president is in the residence and he is on social media. Let's not, I think it is so silly that we have to give credence to these very obvious lies that come out of the White House sometimes on this stuff.
I agree. I agree. But just, if it were really a staffer, they would have been fired. And we would know who they are.
We would know.
Would they? I mean, it's
in
like
a functional environment, any other
in a
place
functional
in America,
environment, but we're not there. We're not there. I think a couple of things. One, I saw it, I expected it, I'm not surprised, but I have the ability to do two things at once, and that is acknowledge how unacceptable it is, but also ask the question of what else happened that you were trying to cover up by doing this. So you arrest Don Lemon and then you go to Fulton County and try and raid the voter rolls in a county that you are concerned. You release the Epstein files and you go to Fulton County. There is a distraction tactic that this administration does, and we cannot be distracted by this. We also should not be surprised by it, but we also shouldn't be silenced by it, because there are many times I come on these shows and I say, when there's a group chat and they're saying racist things like the N-word, and JD Vance doesn't stop it at the gate and says, make some excuse. I'm being too sensitive. When it's the eating the cats and dogs, it's just too much. It's just too much. Those are warning signs of people who have behavior like this. And then when it comes out, it is like defend, then delete, pretend like it didn't have it, and make a pivot. We can't be surprised. We can't be silenced, but we can't also be distracted.
Can I play this? This is a C-SPAN caller who is a 3-time Trump voter, and called in to say this about how he feels about the president right now.
Voted for the president, supported him, but I really want to apologize. I mean, I'm looking at this awful picture of the Obamas. What an embarrassment to our country. All this man does is tell lies. He is not worthy of the presidency. He takes bribes blatantly, and now he's being a racist blatantly. He's pathetic as a president, and I just want to apologize to everybody in the country for supporting this rotten man.
I know it's going to be easy for a lot of conservatives to dismiss that, but if you really look, as we've been talking about the polls and what they say about what independent and swing voters are thinking, there are a lot of people like that who are in that place right now. There was a poll this week that talked about, does Trump share your values? Does he have basically the ethics to be president? In the 60s, say he does not. That's a problem.
Let's start with the response, right? So this is obviously a case where the second response should have been the first response, if that's what the truth was. I mean, that said, the fact that they had a first response that perhaps wasn't entirely true is problematic in and of itself. I don't think you're going to find, and you haven't seen any Republicans, any conservatives come out, and really defend this, nor should they. The idea, the defense that this was part of the minute you start having to
stitch together all these explanations,
right? There's a credible screen grab of that by the president's Twitter handle, a truth handle, and it shouldn't have happened. So they should take responsibility. They should apologize and then seek to move on, not sort of deflect and try to hope it goes away.
I have to give some serious credit to Joe Pinion here. He's out on the panel saying what actually needs to be said flat out. There is no excuse for this. He didn't do the standard MAGA pivot of, yeah, but what about when Joe Biden did this? He just called it. Honestly, kudos to him, because usually he's on Abby Phillip's show doing absolute mental gymnastics to defend the latest Trump headline. And I really agree with Ashley Allison on the bigger picture. The media always zooms in on one awful thing, and let's be real, posting a video with that racist depiction of the Obamas as apes, that was an awful thing. It's February 2026, and even some people who voted for Trump twice are calling into C-SPAN saying, yeah, this is too far. But then they fall back on that old line. I don't like the truthing, but I like the policies. But like Ashley is pointing out, it's always something. It's the cats and dogs, it's the birtherism, it's the Lion King memes. Trump does things every single day that would have ended any other career in history. I mean, look at the 80 seconds Gary Hart was the front runner until an affair came out. Done. Howard Dean yelled once in Iowa, and that was the end of his run. Dan Quayle, the guy misspelled potato at a spelling bee, and he was a national punchline for decades. Now, Trump does that level of stuff before breakfast and nothing happens. Carolyn Levitt calls it fake outrage and says he's just being funny. Well, I don't want a president who's funny. We're talking about a serious job with life and death consequences. I'm tired of the trolling. I'm tired of members of Congress being trolls. I want to go back to presidents being, boring, intelligent, thoughtful people who are too busy running the country to post stupid memes or conspiracy theories. I don't want a president I can drink a beer with. I want a president who is smarter than me. Does anyone else miss when the White House was actually, serious? Because right now, the gap between what we say is a joke and what becomes policy is getting dangerously thin.
Yeah.
I would have a real conversation about this, because what that tells me is that the person who made history held the job that he currently has, the highest office in the land. He sees them as monkeys. And we know historically that people have looked as black people as less than human, that they were 3/5 of a person and they didn't deserve the right to vote. And so if that is the place where the again, and Make America Great Again goes back to, what am I supposed to think as a black person sitting in this country right now? Does he think I am a monkey? Does his supporters think I'm a monkey? It's like, there is something about the deleting, but it is like, are we comfortable with a person that thinks like that would even do that, to be in an office in the White House?
I always thought this was the heart of birtherism, that to denigrate Barack Obama, to denigrate someone who achieves the highest office in the land, isn't just about the individual action of those individual men. It is about the signal that it sends to a community largely that your achievements, your accomplishments does not overwhelm that perception. And so I think that message is received by a lot of people. And I frankly think that the White House's initial response is in line with what they've done about Minneapolis, they've done about a lot of other things. They're increasingly telling the public to not believe their eyes. And honestly, that ain't work out for Biden, and that's not gonna work out for Donald Trump either. Like their credibility loss, I think, has been legitimate. And I think that they cannot keep sending people out here with excuses that even their supporters know are lies.
Well, that gentleman who just spoke, he represents what I call the double haters. This is a guy who probably voted for Donald Trump in spite of his conduct. Didn't like him, but he disliked Kamala more, so he voted for Trump. There are a lot of people like that out there, and frankly, these racist comments and all these other crazy things happen in Minnesota and Epstein and elsewhere. All these people, who had doubts about Trump have even more, and many of them are either not going to show up or they're not going to vote Republican in the midterm. So this is an enormous problem for Republicans. So all the things you pointed out, Ashley, are true, but I do think it is having a real impact on the body politique.
All right. Thank you, guys. Next for us,
Honestly, by tomorrow or the next day, this specific Truth Social post, the one with the racist Lion King meme, it'll probably be forgotten by the mainstream, and Trump will be on to the next horrible thing. This administration, they aren't going to learn anything. The White House isn't even going to try to reel him in. I mean, look at the history here. There's been a lot of talk lately, especially since Fred Trump III's book came out about Donald Trump's father. When Fred Sr. got to the point where his Alzheimer's was severe, the family literally built a pretend office for him. He'd go in every day, shuffle blank papers, and think he was running the empire. Can we do that with Donald Trump? Because let's be real, Stephen Miller is basically running the country as it is. He's the de facto president pushing these brutal immigration surges in Minnesota while Trump is busy with, whatever crypto scam or World Liberty financial deal is netting him billions this week. Trump doesn't want to run the country. He wants to renovate the White House ballroom and check his digital wallet. So, can we just give him a toy phone, deactivate the account so he thinks he's truthing to the world, but it's just going into a void? Because I don't know how else we put the genie back in the bottle. We know the Republicans aren't going to tone it down. J.D. Vance is a frontrunner for 2028, and while he isn't a lunatic in the traditional sense, he's a total opportunist who loves the trolling just as much. I want to know if you guys agree with me. Are we ready for a boring president again? Somebody who actually understands the policy instead of just the memes? Even on Abby Phillip's show tonight, it was a rare moment of total agreement. Even Joe Pinion couldn't find a way to defend this one. But is this just par for the course after a decade of this clown? Let me know in the comments what you think about this segment. Are we being led by a president or a social media troll? Also, do me a huge favor. We have a major goal to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. If you want commentary that actually calls out the mental gymnastics without the fluff, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. I'm Mike, and I'll see you in the next one.